Hello, my name is Alan Singer. I am the author of the book Teaching Global History. These videos are aligned with chapters in the book, and they are intended for pre-service and working teachers, but also for students in advanced placement government classes. And I hope they are helpful to you. This is Lecture 3, Addressing Controversial and Sensitive Issues in the Classroom. Addressing topics like evolution, human origins, race, racism, gender, religion, immigration, war, genocide, slavery, sex, sexuality, or the future of democracy can unnerve teachers because they're concerned about what feedback they get from administrators, from parents, and also in classrooms where students may not be happy with what you present. Recently, in a class for college undergraduates, I asked if the Great Irish Famine should be considered an example of genocide. There were students upset that other historical events were being compared with the European Holocaust, when approximately 12 million people, including 6 million European Jews, were systematically exterminated by Nazi Germany during World War II. I explained that I understood their concerns, but our responsibility as historians was to look at similarities and differences between events, and that they had a right or responsibility to present their views in class discussion. They were not required to agree with me. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even stated my position, but they had an obligation to explore the comparison. On another occasion, I was observing a student teacher in a classroom, and the cooperating teacher, student teacher, actually all the students were African American, and I was the only white person in the room. The student teacher was teaching a lesson on the Nile Rift Valley and the migration of human beings and pre-humans from Central Africa and Lake Victoria region up to populate the world. And one student turns around, looks at me, and then turns to the student teacher and says, "I don't know about that guy, but my ancestors weren't monkeys." The student teacher, cooperating teacher, were stunned, didn't know what to do. So I raised my hand and I said to the student teacher, I think the student has raised a fundamental question, and that is whether all human beings, all races, all ethnicities come from a common origin. So instead of answering it now, I think what we should do is we should prepare a lesson together on the origin of humanity and the common ancestry of all people who populate the earth. My advice about teaching any controversial subject is to teach about it, but in a responsible way, which includes always challenging racism and other prejudices. There is no question that the European Holocaust happened. There is no question that slavery and imperialism were horrific, victimizing millions of people and destroying civilizations. Students have a right to believe what they want, but conspiracy theories, accusing people of sinful behavior and the influence of alien invaders are just not part of the social studies curriculum and not being debated in a global history class. Given contemporary debates, I believe it is important for students to know that in other societies and other epochs, particularly ancient Greece, human sexuality was viewed differently, and same-sex relationships were often practiced. Do you ever see the movie Troy, where Brad Pitt as Achilles kills Eric Banner as Hector? Brad Pitt, is furious that Hector had killed Achilles' nephew. But that anger, that level of anger, is not just because Hector has killed Achilles' nephew. That anger is because Hector has killed Achilles' sexual partner. I also think that teachers have an obligation to include more people who were written out of history in the past especially women of note, women's lives and roles in different societies. So we have a big obligation to do research, to find out, to make our curriculum more inclusive, and to be sensitive when people have difficulty with some of the things we are raising.